Hello, everybody. We should be good to go now. Sorry about the delay. I had a bit of a hiccup there with technology. Apparently, the camera I was trying to use it didn't like. If you could let me know if you can hear this, that would be great. And I will just wait for a comment, and then I will get going here. 1 second. Okay, so I think everything is okay now. So why don't I go ahead and start? First thing I'm going to do is go to the data school, or sorry, not the data school, the Makeover Monday website, and let's have a look at the data set for this week. So we're going to be looking at, let's see, so let's go to the original data source, or sorry, the original data. And I only have one screen this week as well, so I'm going to be monitoring comments on my phone. I'm in New York this week visiting the data school. Okay, so we're looking at average internet speeds across Europe. It's an okay viz, nothing particularly interesting. We can see, I guess the initial thing I see is it looks like it gets slower as you go east to west, or sorry, west to east. The eastern part of Europe looks slower than the western part, which doesn't surprise me that much because it's less developed than the Western Europe. If we hover over one of the marks, we can see France. It just has the average download, upload, and latency. The UK, by the way, the coverage in the UK it's very, very spotty. The house that we have in London has unbelievable connection, and then we bought a new house up north of England, and it's terrible. So I guess it hasn't quite made it out to the outer part of the interwebs. Okay, so the data comes from speed test, and if I just go ahead and click on the link to get over to the data itself, we can look at the data here. So we've got the country name, the quarter, and then the 3 metrics. Okay, so a very similar data set to last week. So I think one of the things I'm actually going to do is try to rebuild some of the things that I failed building last week. And hopefully that's okay with everybody. And I'm going to try a couple of different things as well. Okay, so let's first just start by looking at the data. So we have the country code and the country name. So the country names look like they're in German, if I had to guess. I'm pretty sure they're in German. So we've got the quarter. Okay, so all the data looks okay. So let's just go to a new sheet here. And first thing I'm going to do is just look at the data by quarter. So, oops, sorry, so I'm just going to right click and drag it to the data pane and look at my average download speeds. And then I don't know if let's see if there's a country name that's kind of like the European average or something, but I don't see one. Okay, so we can't really look at that. I think what I'm going to do, because these are averages, I'm just going to change the default aggregation for these. Okay, they're in local language. Okay, thanks for that. And I'm going to set the default aggregation to these 3 measures to an average. So now if I put average download speed on here, we can see the average across Europe. Okay, we can then maybe compare that to the average upload speed. And of course, we're going to see a difference. And then the latency, so latency doesn't have anything to do with those two metrics. So a couple things we could do here. Let me just change the quarter to discrete. And one thing we could do is maybe compare the difference between the average download and average upload. We could see that the average download speeds are growing at a faster rate than the average upload speeds. But I'm going to change this a bit so that the measure name is the path. So now we're going to just compare them up and down versus left to right. So let me duplicate measure values, and I'm going to make this one circles and put measure names onto color. And now if I make this a dual axis, oops, let's go here, dual axis, and let's synchronize. And we can see now we kind of have this barbell chart, but doesn't really tell me a whole heck of a lot, does it? So Nothing particularly interesting there, but at least we kind of learned the technique on how to build that type of chart. Would it look any better if I flipped it? Maybe a bit better if I look at it horizontally instead of vertically. So that's a bit better. Of course, we can create a map. So if I just double click on country, we can see we have 39 marks. Now, one of the things here, if I edit the locations, XKO, does anybody know what XKO is off the top of their head? So let's look up XKO country code. So that is, okay, so here we go. XKO looks like it's XKO. Oh. Let's see if we can find something here. XKO. I'm going to guess that it's probably Kosovo. Okay, ISO code, yeah, Kosovo. So let me go into here, and I'm going to change XKO to Kosovo. And then EL, what's EL country code? Let's go back here. And let's look at alpha code 2, EL. Oh god, there's 55 of them. That's not very helpful. EL. Doesn't look like I can sort this table. If I could, it would be much better. EL country code. Okay, let me go back here. EL is Greece. Okay, great, thank you. Okay. That's my American ignorance coming out there. So Greece, how do they get EL for Greece? That'd be interesting to know if anybody knows that. Okay, it's Greece. Okay, so now we've got all of those populated. We could look at the average download speed across all time, and we get something similar to the original graph. If I just maybe make this my, let's see, month, year, and I'm just going to pick the most recent date. And this should be pretty much exactly the same. Nope, don't want to do that, as the original. So if I go back over to the original graph, we get something like that. And it goes from like a green to dark purple color palette. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to match their color palette by default properties, color. And we want to do a, I wonder if it's something similar to this. No, that's not dark enough, but it's kind of like a, let's see if I can find something that's similar. What if I did, what if I just reverse this one? Let's see what that looks like. It's not, I know it's not the same, but maybe it's, the problem here is I can't change the colors. Let's see. Maybe if we try this one, let's see, apply. Oh, reversed. Okay, maybe something like that. Anyway, we can play around with the, okay. Okay. Elada equals local name of Greece. Okay, great. Thank you for educating me. All right, so we've got something like that. Now, one of the things that we could do is maybe build like a, so one of the drawbacks of this kind of map is it's hard to compare, for example, the Netherlands to the UK because one is much bigger than the other. So actually what we could do, let's put the chart in the tooltip. So if I insert our sheet 1, yeah, let me insert our sheet 1, but I'm going to get rid of it. So the only filter I want to do here, instead of all fields, I want to filter to the country. And let's see what this looks like. Right, so now we're looking at the chart for that. So let me go back over here. Actually, let me just duplicate this sheet, and I'm gonna get rid of that. I'm gonna just switch it back to a line chart. Detail, and flip it back. Measure values on color. So now if I go to my sheet here, I'm just trying to see what, just give the tooltip a bit of context. So I don't want to insert sheet 1. I want to insert sheet 1 like that. Let's see if that does it. Okay, there we go. So, we can, customize this a bit more if we want, but it looks okay. We can see them changing as we go. Right, so I want to go ahead and create maybe like a tile map. So I do have an Excel file. Let me see if I can find it here. That's a world tile map. Now, it has a row and a column, every country. And let me just kind of show you what we're going to do is we're going to join this based on country code. But that's not going to work because the country, we don't have the country 2, we have the country 3. Well, that's not going to work particularly well, is it? So let me see if I can go back to this website. Let me just try something here. And I'm going to just copy this table. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to I'm going to just paste this into okay, there we go. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to look up the 2-letter code. So I'm going to call this ISO 2, ISO-2, and I'm going to VLOOKUP that code, comma. Oh, wait, I can't do that. So I need to move this one around. Okay, so it's a little data prep in Excel while we're here today. And then comma 2, comma false. And we should get that country code. And then I'm going to just lock these in. And now as I go down, okay, GLD. So Greenland, where's Greenland? GRD. Oh, GRN is Grenada is GRD, Greenland is GRL. Okay, GR. Oh, interesting. I wonder what the heck happened here. This must wonder if this is an old list of ISO codes or something. I wonder when this page was updated. Okay, let me go back. Let me just list of ISO codes. Oh, and of course these are not all on one page, are they? Oh no, they are. Well, I just want to look here and see what Greenland GRL, and here we have GLD. But how is it finding the country name then? Well, this hasn't proven very successful, has it? Okay, I think I'm going to just manually create these values. Okay, so GLD, so Greenland is, sorry, this is just going to take a minute here to clean this up. Greenland is GL. Denmark should be, how did that not match? Denmark's what? Oh god, there's going to be a lot of them to clean up. Maybe for now, so Europe. God, what a pain. All right, well that's not gonna work very well because I'm not getting any matches. Well, I don't know if anybody knows why I would be getting those other codes, because Tableau is able to match them. So if I look here in my map, I'm able to get all of the matches. So for example, where's Greenland? No, Greenland isn't showing up. So I'm missing some countries here. So I have 41 marks in the view. And if I do, okay, let me try it again. So let me edit the data source. And I'm going to add in my world view. I'm just going to see what happens here. World time map. And let's see. So I'm going to just create a join. And let's join it by so it's country to country. Okay, let's see what happens here. Let's see if I still get 41. I get 0. Amazing. Oh no, I need to join it to code. Okay, let's see if that's better. No. What the heck? Maybe I brought up the wrong file. So code, oh, because the codes are 3. Oh, dang it. Okay, well, I was going to do some kind of tile map, but that's a fail. So we're going to just delete this. Let's remove that, and then let's go ahead and remove. Okay, so the other thing that we had looked at last week was how to build the kind of like Starburst chart, or I forget what it's called. Let me just do a Google search here. So Starburst chart. How about sunburst chart? So I'm not quite sure what they're called, but instead of them, yeah, it's not the same thing. I don't know. I'll figure out the name of it later. But let me. I'm going to need to just bring up my notes here, and I will. I have it on my to-do list to create a video on how to make these, because every time I do this, I get asked how to build them. So so that's fine. All right. So what I want to do then is let's go back to Tableau, and I'm going to duplicate my data source because I don't want to ruin the first one. Let's edit, and I'm going to just union the data to itself. And now you'll see over here on the left-hand side, we can get rid of this sheet. And now in this table name, if we edit the aliases, you'll see we have data and data 1. So those are that's kind of the two sheets that we just joined together. All right, so what I want to do is I'm going to create a bunch of calculations. I'm going to call this one radial field. And this is just going to be the average of the average download speed. No, I don't even need to. Let's just do average download speed. Okay, and that's the first one. And the second one is, oh, okay, so I need to now create a parameter. Let's create a parameter, and I'm going to call this 2.adjuster, and this is going to be a integer. Let's just leave it like that for now. I'm going to maybe default it to 10. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to create, let me see if I have an example here. Yeah, something like this, where you have these kind of, the little lines coming out of the center. All right, so let me go back to look at my notes here. So that's our adjuster. So let's go ahead and show that. Okay, so then we want to create another one that is called, actually, let me just do something here. Just bear with me for a second. Let me turn off my screen share for a second. Okay, so I just want to go ahead and bring up my this will be easier if I do it this way. Okay. So I'm just going to copy those notes. Let me go back over here. Oop. Okay. So I was just copying the notes from my notebook. Okay. So this is how we're going to create all of these. So we've got the radial, we've got the adjuster. So now we want to just drag this in, and it should give us that calculation. Okay. And then the path, this is going to be, instead of path, this is going to be, actually what I'll do is I'm going to bring them all in, and then I will change them. So radial angle, and then radial inner, radial outer, and I'll probably parameterize both of those. Okay. So I create these because it's an easier way for me to not have to, like, I have these in my notes so that I don't have to remember how to do them each time, and I also know that the syntax is correct as far as kind of like the what I mean by that is I don't have to worry about the brackets and all of that kind of stuff. So okay, so that's that. And then the rows. Okay, so let me just switch back to my notes here. Okay, all right. So you can see I've got a couple of errors here. So let's start with radial angle, and what is going on here? Reference to my. Oh, okay. So this has to be aggregated, I think. Oh, no, it's because I don't have it named right. It has to be exact punctuation. Let's see if that does it. But I think I'm getting an error here, probably. Oh, this should be capitals as well. Rename. Okay, so that fixed that. So let me look at radial length. Okay, so this shouldn't be path, this should be table name, and then we'll call this one data 1. And okay, so now all that's good. I'm going to make columns and rows both discrete. All right, so yeah, so let's start by let me see, I need to remember how to build this. So I'm just looking at my notes here. So let's bring in the columns and the rows, and we'll configure these in a minute. And then we want to bring in the radial X and the radial Y. And okay, sorry, I'm just trying to look at my notes here, but I can't really see very well. Okay, and then the field I'm going to have on the view. Okay, so let's temperature change. So the field is going to be on color. No, I'm just going to put this on color. All right, and then we need to have, let's make this a line, and we need to have our table name on line. That's just gonna, so you can see we've got something starting to build here. And I'm going to right click and drag quarter to detail and choose discrete. And quarter has to be above that. Okay, so now I need to configure my table calcs. So let's edit this table. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to filter to one country for now. So let's maybe just say UK. And now let me edit my table calcs. And let's start with radial angle. And we want to do that. And then radial length is year, and then country, so and then at the level. Okay, so that's good. And then let's change the Y. Radial length. And then radial angle is going to be just quarter. Okay, there we go. So now we have all of our dates. So last week I couldn't get the dates in the right order, which was super annoying, but I think they should be okay now. So this looks like actually what I should probably do is let's change this to quarter, and it's going to break my table calcs, but that's okay. Okay, so that's good. What happened here? Edit table calc. Okay, that's weird that it's just making me change. Okay. All right, great. So I'm actually going to just stick this on the label so we can see what it's doing. So we've got, it looks like, so I want to put 2019 Q1 at the top here, right at 12 o'clock, and I believe this is what that adjuster is for. Okay, so you see it, we can see everything moving. So if I do 10, it moves it more to the right. If I do 11, it moves it back to the left, but I'm having trouble getting it like perfectly in the middle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to edit my parameter, and I'm going to actually make this a float so that I can play around with it a bit better. So let's do 11.5. Okay, there we go. So now we can see, yeah. So everything looks right. Okay, excellent. So I'm going to take that back off of the, I'm going to put that back on detail. And now we can see the average internet speeds for the UK. And if I look at my, well, I'll mess around with my inner and outer calculations later. All right, so now I need to look at my trellis calculations, which, okay, so let me make sure that I have these configured correctly. So columns and rows, create custom date. Okay. Sure, dimension is above date on detail shelf. Okay, that's good. So I want to edit my table compute using, so edit table calc. I want to do specific dimensions, that, and then check both, and then at the level, table name. Okay. Oh, sorry. No, I did that wrong. Let me move this back. Let me undo. Undo. Okay, so I'm going to move country to detail. That's what I meant to do because I want one for each country. Then I need to make sure that the dimension is above the date. So there we go. Okay, so let's edit the table calc. So I want it to be dimension and date at the level dimension. So country, and then rows, edit table calc, country, date, country. Okay, right. So now we should see each country. So we start with Albania. I'm pretty sure that's Albania. So country name, let's put that on detail. Oops. But I'm gonna, yeah. So I'm gonna put country name on detail, but I'm gonna make it an attribute so that it doesn't impact my calculations. Okay, there we go. So we could see this is, okay, so that's the country, the local country name like we talked about before. Österreich, that's Austria. Okay, so I think that's good. I'm going to just do a bit of cleanup. I don't want any of these fields. Sorry, I don't want any of these fields in my tooltip. So let me just get rid of all these. Country name. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, well, we'll do the tooltips last. Okay, so this is average upload speed. So what we could do now is maybe we'll create a parameter that is the measure. And I'm going to make this a string and a list, and let's call this one value 1, display as average. Download speed, and 2 is going to be average upload, and then 3 is going to be average latency. Okay, so I'm just going to parameterize this. So let's show the parameter, and I'm going to make it a single value list. Hopefully you can't hear the air conditioner in the background too much. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to, instead of this radial field here, I'm going to use my parameter. So I'm going to say case, and then my parameter, so this is my measure parameter. When 1, then average download speed. When 2, then I want it to be average upload speed. When 3, then latency. And okay. Oops, what happened there? Oh, this should be expected type string found it. Oh. Is that it? Okay, there we go. Right, so now if I change this measure around, let's put that radial field onto color. And we need to set the default aggregation to average. And let's put that on here. Okay. So now we can change it based on, well, is anything changing? There we go. Average upload speed, average download speed. Okay, not much changes there. Okay, so let's maybe pick a color palette. I wonder if there's like, what is considered a good, let's see, so what is considered a good internet speed? Okay, 4 more devices. Okay, what is a good internet speed? Anything from, okay, well, that doesn't tell me a whole lot. Okay, what is a good internet speed? A good download speed is at least 100 and good upload speed is at least 10. Okay, because I was going to do some color here. Okay, because if I do, I was just thinking of doing like a diverging color palette. So let's say orange to blue, and or no, let's do like let's try this one, and I'm going to set the middle to be 100. Apply. Okay, so this works for average download speed. Actually, I need a better color palette. Useful color range. There we go. Yeah, how does that work? Not particularly well. I was just thinking, should I have some kind of color palette in there or something in the middle that tells me what is the difference between good and bad? If I do, let's hit apply. That doesn't help either. Okay, so I think I'm going to just scrap the idea of using a center color. And let's pick maybe, let's try this one, reversed. Let's see, what would be considered a faster, okay. So we could go with something like that. Let's see how that goes. Okay, and you see some of these countries only have like 1 data point, and it's in 2020. So I probably should exclude certain countries. So MDA, UA, XKO, MDA, UA, XKO, and BIH. So let's create a set. BIH. I'll shoot over the MDA, UA, XKO. I'm going to make that an exclude. And if I drag that to the filters, okay, there we go. So I only wanted to include countries that have data for all of the, for every time period. Okay, so let's hide the headers for the rows and the columns. And let's hide the headers for the X and the Y. But now I want to make sure that I can put the country name or maybe the country code into the middle. If I put country, let me just show you what happens. If I put country on label, you'll see it kind of becomes a bit of a mess. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create, let's call this country, or just call it label. And I'm going to say something like, if the quarter is equal to the max quarter. Then we want to get the country. End. Okay, but I only want to do that. Okay, so that should be okay. Let's see if that works. So let's put that on label. And let's make this an attribute. Okay, so now we got the beginning and the end of the line. Oh no, I want to make it the first, not the last. So edit. Let's make this the min. Yeah, so question, why is it a string parameter? Use values 1, 2, 3. Yeah, that's, so if I look at my parameter, I set it up as a string. I meant to do it as an integer. So, but yeah, good question. And then on my label, I want to just have the line ends. And let's see, where's the start? Okay, there we go. We allow it to overlap. Let's maybe make the text a bit bigger. But notice they're not centered. So what I'm going to have to do, I think I'll fix this once I get into, what is this here? Radial X has 1. Okay. Let's see, where am I missing a... Okay, I'm not missing any. All right, so let me hide that. Let's format, and I'm going to get rid of my grid lines, get rid of my 0 lines, get rid of my, okay, and let's get rid of our row and column dividers. None. Okay, there we go. Now, when I stick this onto a dashboard, so let's, maybe I'll make it a nice, let's make it maybe 800 by maybe 900. Let's see. No, it needs to be taller than wide. So let's just drag that in. Normally I would float all of this. Let's get rid of the adjuster, and I'm going to just float that one for now. Okay, and then get rid of that box. Okay, so now the problem is we get the letters aren't in the middle, or the country code isn't in the middle. So let me go back to this sheet. And oh, I meant to also show you what the radial inner and radial outer do. So if I edit the radial inner, I can make this, if I make this like a 2, you'll see that it makes them go out. So if I make it a 4, it makes it come in a bit more. If I make it a 5, you'll see it come in even more. 6, something like that. Well, that didn't work. No, that's not what I want. What was it, a 1? Yeah, there we go. I meant to do the outer. So let's make this a 1. Okay, and that goes backwards. If I make this a 4, it should go inwards. Okay, so you can use this to kind of play around with the different, depending on how how you want if you want it to be shrinked in or not. Okay, so that's a bit better. You see they're a bit closer to the middle. What if I make the font a bit bigger? If I make it 14 and maybe bold, let's see how that looks now on the dashboard. Okay, so that's close enough to the middle for me. Okay, so let me just go ahead and show my caption. And let's make it 8. And data source is, what was our data source? It was UCLA. Speed test by UCLA. Design. Okay, so okay. Now, one thing I think that's still very difficult to see. I'll fix this here in a minute. Let's just make this a drop down for now and get it out of the way. One of the things that is a bit confusing, that's still a bit hard to see, is how is the pattern across time. So I think one thing we should maybe do then is let's create a new sheet, and let's right click and drag quarter and pick quarter. And I'm going to put my, oops, wrong sheet. Let's right click and drag quarter and quarter. What happened here? Why is this? Why is that grayed out? Okay, that's weird. Oh, we don't need to worry about that. And then I'm going to put my radial field onto rows, and then I'm going to put my measure onto the rows, and I'm going to rotate my label, hide the field labels, and let's get rid of the title. So what I'm doing is I'm making my parameter look like a title. So let's maybe make that 10 point and maybe bold, something like that. So you can see I'm kind of using it as a title. Okay, and let's format the view while we're here. Zero line, I'll set that to none. And should we see what it looks like without our grid lines? Okay, yeah, I like it without the grid lines. And let's get rid of our row dividers and get rid of our column dividers. And I'm going to turn my axis rulers on. Okay, so something like that. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put radial field onto color. And isn't that what I have on color here? Radial field. Okay, so I need to default properties, color. So I've used which color palette? This one and reversed. And if I go here, okay, so what I'm going to do now is inside of this sheet, I'm going to, inside of my tooltip. So I'm going to clean this up. So I'm going to have the country name, and then I'm just going to put the country code in parentheses. The quarter, get rid of the label, get rid of that. And then let's insert the parameter. Where's my parameter measure? Let's see how that looks. Okay. All right. So now we've got those values. So let me just unbold this one. Okay, good enough. But then in the tooltip, I want to add in my chart as well. So I'm going to insert my, was it sheet 3? And the only thing I want to filter on, though, I don't want to filter on all fields. I want to filter on just my country. If I filter on all fields, it's going to also filter on the quarter. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Now the shape of the chart is a bit too tall. So in my tooltip, I can make the height maybe 200 by 300. So that should give it a good ratio. Tooltip again, let me go back here. So you see a lot of back and forth here. All right, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to format the font. And for this worksheet, I'm just going to set it all to 8 point and maybe a lighter gray. So let's format this and let's make it a lighter gray. Okay, so let's see what that looks like. So now we see, so for latency, okay, so latency is going down, so that's good. And download speed, yeah. So I'm getting a bit of context with the line chart as well. So it kind of supports both there. Okay, so now I need to put a title on this. So I'm going to call this one insert parameter. Across Europe. So you see now it says average download speed. So if there we go. So that changes with my parameter. So that's good. So I want to maybe make this a bit bigger and maybe make it bold. Okay. So I'm going to actually just move this in a few spots here. And then on my measure, on my parameter, I'm going to uncheck show title, and I'm going to shrink this up. And I'm going to move it over here and just pray that it stays in the right spot when I bring it into Tableau Public. So width 20, okay, 26 by 29, that's fine. Dashboard. Actually, what I could probably do is, let me just float this as well. And then my layout would be 800 by 900. And then I want to set maybe some inner padding on this one. Where's my layout tab? Measure. So I can get rid of that. Remove from dashboard. Delete containers. Okay, so sheet 5. I'm going to add in some inner padding, maybe like 20 pixels, something like that. So now this little floaty guy here, I can move this down to here. And when I publish it to Tableau Public, it should work. So let me just check here again. I think it needs to move up 1 pixel. So no, that's not what I wouldn't. There we go. Okay, so now when I choose this box here, oh, it needs to be in the front though. So let's move that up above. Okay. Average download speed, average upload speed. Okay, so yeah, what do you think? What do you think this week? Do you? Of course, I could build a lot more, but I wanted to sort of show where, last week I kind of failed trying to build this, and I wanted to make sure I got back to it this week. So Greg, what's the logic behind floating both elements instead of just the dropdown? Okay, good question, Greg. So if I would leave the worksheet as tiled, and then the parameter as floating, when I publish it to Tableau Public, they won't stay in this, it won't render the same as it looks like in my screen here. So the floating object will not be right next to the A like it is now. It'll be shifted off somehow, which is very annoying. And I tend to just float the first sheet anyway. Or actually, well, I've got some videos. If you're on this channel, if you search for mastering containers, you'll see kind of what I mean and kind of the logic behind it all. So, anybody have any questions before I sign off? So we've been going about an hour now, and again, I kind of like the way that this looks now, and the the values inside of the chart, that kind of thing. Okay, no problem, Greg. So if you go to so if I just type in mastering containers. If you just go to vizwiz.com and search for mastering containers, you'll see a couple of videos here. It's kind of hard for me to put it in the chat because the chat's on my phone. But yeah, just go to vizwiz.com and then search for mastering containers. Okay, so is there any way to get the matched location name of abbreviation from Tableau? Matched location name. I'm not sure what you mean by that. Do you mean, so the matched location name? I'm not sure what you mean by matched location name. So I'm not quite, I don't know what you mean by that. Okay. Any other questions? So I was hoping to do a tile map, but that didn't work because the country codes don't match up, which is really annoying. But that might have looked nice as well. So that might be an idea for somebody if you create like a, well, let me actually just show you what it was going to look like. Let me create a new sheet, and I'm just going to connect to this world tile map. And I'm only going to connect to this here. So the idea here was if let me make these both discrete. If I put this in the columns and this in the rows, these need to both be dimensions. Okay, so I'm going to put column in the columns, row in the rows, country onto detail. You can see I've got this kind of world tile map now. I don't know if I put it in an entire view, maybe, there we go. And if I filter it down to just Europe, then we can see we now have all of the European countries. If I put this on label, you can see something like that, right? So you can see them all positioned here. So my thinking was, you know, it'd be great if I could maybe create line charts in each of these sections or something like that. So anyway, that was the idea. That's what I was trying to get to there, but because the country names didn't match up, I couldn't do that. Well, I could, but it would take me a lot of time to fix it. Okay, looks like there's no more questions, so I will sign off there. And thank you everybody for tuning in, and I will see you again next week. I hope you learned something. Feel free to leave any comments or suggestions or anything else that you might like me to see. And like I mentioned, I will create a video on how to build this Starburst chart. I'll look up the proper name for it. I don't remember what it's called, but I will look that up as well. So thank you very much. Have a good week, everybody.